In the heart of Jaidandaji, a remote village nestled between dry farmlands and cracked riverbeds in northern Nigeria, lived Musa and Amina, humble subsistence farmers. Known for their soft-spoken nature and deep devotion to God, the couple carried a silent burden, over 13 years of barrenness. While others harvested children like millet at harvest time, they sowed prayers, watered their hopes with tears, and clung to faith like a lifeline. Each year brought its own share of heartbreak. Amina endured miscarriages, village gossip, and unsolicited remedies, from bitter herbs to sleepless nights on prayer mats. Some villagers whispered, perhaps she angered the spirits. Others mocked Musa, urging him to take another wife. But he always replied gently, I made a vow before God. Amina is enough for me. Then, one stormy evening, as rain poured down like mercy from the skies, Amina felt a surge of pain. It was too soon, only 7 months into her pregnancy. With trembling hands and aching hope, Musa rushed to gather help. Neighbors carried her on a makeshift stretcher to the only clinic hours away. Zara's arrival. At dawn, amidst thunder and a chorus of whispered prayers, a baby girl was born. But instead of rejoicing, a heavy silence fell. The nurse, eyes downcast, handed the baby over without a smile. Her limbs were curved inward. Her feet twisted unnaturally. Her facial structure bore visible differences. One eye larger than the other, a cleft lip, a flattened nose. The doctor hesitated, unsure what to say. But before he could speak, Amina cradled the baby close and declared through tears, she is our answered prayer. Her name is Zara, a flower that blooms after a drought. But the village was not as accepting. Whispers turned into murmurs. Murmurs became judgments. It's a sign, one old woman said. A curse from the gods, said another. A few even urged Musa to return her to the soil. One man barked, she'll bring nothing but shame. But Musa, tired yet unwavering, replied, if the Lord of heaven formed her, who are we to reject his work? A house divided, a love unbroken. Life was not kind to the Musa family. Their crops often failed. Zara's medical needs were constant. They could barely afford food, let alone physiotherapy or surgeries. At night, the small room echoed with Zara's cries of discomfort and her parents' soft sobs. But never once did they consider giving up on her. They carried her everywhere, in slings, in arms, on backs. They taught her how to laugh, to clap, to sing, even when her body resisted her will. Other children called her names, Kuturu, Abanj, Abomination, but her parents called her Zara the Brave. The spark of brilliance. Zara's body might have been slow, but her mind was a whirlwind. At 3, she began asking questions that startled even adults. She memorized village songs after hearing them once. She'd stare at patterns on wrappers and replicate them in sand. Amina, recognizing her rare spark, made toys out of spoons and seeds, turning every chore into a lesson. One afternoon at the market, while Amina was haggling, Zara pointed at chalk-written prices and began reading them aloud. Mr. Tanamo, a kind-hearted teacher buying onions, overheard and was stunned. That day, he followed them home. She's gifted, he said. Let me teach her. And so began Zara's first informal lessons under a mango tree. With a borrowed slate and broken chalk, she absorbed everything: algebra, history, proverbs. She began solving village disputes with logic. She memorized Bible verses, translated them into Hausa, then explained them with stunning clarity. She became, in secret, the teacher's pride. But still, to most of the village, she was the bent one, the cursed child. A voice that refused silence. At 10, a life-changing opportunity came. An NGO arrived to host an essay competition titled, What Makes a Person Valuable? With Mr. Tanamo's help, Zara entered. She wrote, "A tree may be bent, but its shade still comforts. A pot may be cracked, but it still holds water. I was born bent, but I am not broken. I want to show the world that value is not always visible." She won. When the judges arrived to meet the winner, they were silenced by the sight of a girl in a rickety wheelchair with legs strapped and twisted, but eyes that radiated brilliance. They took pictures. Interviews followed. One of the team members, a woman named Mrs. Ndidi, had a daughter with cerebral palsy and was moved to tears. She said, "Zara reminds me that genius wears many skins." A new chapter. With sponsorship from the NGO, Zara was taken to Kaduna to a special school. The goodbye was heart-wrenching. Amina wept for days. Musa sat on the doorstep, staring at the stars. But deep down, they knew their sacrifice was birthing something eternal. At school, Zara met others like her, each unique, each extraordinary. She was introduced to assistive technology, therapy, art, and music. She designed an early education math game for blind students using sound cues. She became editor of the school's magazine. She even wrote a book of poetry called Bent But Blooming. Global Light from Local Soil. By 18, Zara was speaking at international conferences. At 20, she created ZLearn, a solar-powered learning pad for disabled children in rural communities, allowing voice navigation, local language support, and offline access to basic education. She received awards from UNESCO, UNICEF, and the Nigerian government. The BBC aired a documentary titled, Born Different, Born Strong. And at 21, Zara stood at the United Nations General Assembly in Geneva, wheeled onto the stage by Mrs. Ndidi, who had now become her mentor. She spoke with power. "I was born in a house with no floor, no ceiling, only faith. They said I wouldn't live. Then they said I wouldn't walk. Then they said I wouldn't matter. But I am proof. What the world underestimates, God often elevates." The hall stood in applause. Back home, her village sat around radios and phones, weeping in awe. Homecoming of the rejected stone. Zara returned to Jaidan Daji not in shame, but in glory. She built the Amina Center for Children with Disabilities, offering therapy, special education, and support. A tech hub with internet and coding classes for girls. A clean water system with solar-powered pumps. A new home for her parents, complete with a library and a prayer room. She employed locals, trained volunteers, and partnered with schools. Children flocked to hear her stories. Mothers now named their daughters Zara. Those who once mocked her came weeping, asking forgiveness.